That carton of almond milk in your fridge, poured into your coffee every morning because it felt like the clean choice over dairy, might barely contain any actual almonds. Some UK brands sit at 1 to 2%. The rest is doing the job water and gums usually do, and none of that is dangerous. It just isn't what the carton implies. Today I'm checking 8 bottles against that number, then showing 3 where the almond content actually means something. The brand with the least almond of all isn't the cheap one. It's the one branded as the healthiest. Quick standard before we start, because I want to be precise about what this actually is and isn't. Nothing on this list is toxic, and I want to be genuinely clear about that before we go any further. The gums and stabilisers you'll hear about, locust bean gum, gellan gum, sunflower lecithin, are ordinary approved food additives used across the entire food industry, not poison sitting quietly in a carton. This isn't about safety at all. It's about a much simpler question that most shoppers never actually ask standing in that aisle. How much of this bottle is genuinely almonds, and what's doing the work instead, texture-wise and flavour-wise? One number keeps repeating across this entire list, over and over, brand after brand, from the cheapest carton to the most expensive one. Once you see it laid out clearly, you'll spot it on the shelf yourself for the rest of your life, every single time you're standing there deciding. Number 8. A standard supermarket own label almond milk carton. The cheapest, most unremarkable carton on the entire shelf, grabbed without a second thought, purely because it's the least expensive option sitting in the fridge that day. No fancy brand name to hide behind here. No glossy health claims printed across the front. Own label almond drinks in this category typically sit in the same low, single-digit almond percentage range as the branded bottles sitting right next to them on the exact same shelf. Worth checking the exact current figure on whichever specific one is in front of you at the time. The absence of a recognizable brand name doesn't mean the absence of the same thin formula running through nearly everything else covered on this list. No brand name to hide behind, and the same thin recipe anyway, sitting quietly underneath the plain packaging. That's the baseline problem running through this whole category. The next one is a name that sounds like it belongs specifically in the health food aisle instead of the everyday one. Number 7. Blue Diamond Almond Breeze Original. A big dedicated almond milk name, the kind of brand that has built its entire identity and reputation around this one single product, so surely a specialist actually gets the ratio right where everyone else fails. Being an almond specialist doesn't automatically mean more almond ends up in the bottle at the end of the process. It's genuinely worth checking the current UK percentage directly before you buy, since specialist brands sitting in this general price tier are commonly found in the same low, single-digit range as supermarket own label right next to them. Specializing in a product isn't the same promise as maximizing the actual ingredient sitting inside it. A brand built entirely around almonds, and the almonds still barely show up in the finished bottle sitting on the shelf in front of you. That's one specialist name handled. The next one is a brand most shoppers assume is Alpro's healthier, more premium cousin. Number 6. Provamel Organic Almond Drink. The organic sounding, slightly more premium feeling name sitting near Alpro on the very same shelf. The one shoppers reach for specifically when they want to feel like they've traded up to something better. Worth checking the current percentage directly before you buy, since as part of the same corporate family as Alpro, a similarly thin almond content is genuinely plausible here too, even if it hasn't been directly confirmed. Organic describes how the almonds were farmed and grown. It says absolutely nothing about how many of them actually made it into the finished bottle you're holding. Organic doesn't mean more almond. It just means the tiny amount that is in there was grown a certain way. That's the organic sounding cousin dealt with and put back on the shelf. The next one charges a Barista markup for barely more almond than the cheapest bottle on this entire list. Number 5. Alpro Almond Barista Edition. The word barista suggests a specially formulated, higher quality blend worth the extra price for your morning coffee, engineered specifically for people who take their coffee genuinely seriously. Barista formulation is really about foam texture and how the milk behaves under steam, not about content at all. This one is confirmed at 2.5% almonds, only a fraction of a percentage point above Alpro's standard range, sitting one shelf down at a lower price. You paid a barista premium for texture engineering in a lab somewhere, not for meaningfully more of the actual nut inside the carton. Barista is a coffee foam formula, not an almond upgrade dressed up as one. That's a small premium for a smaller than you'd think difference between the two. The next one is the bottle sitting in nearly every single UK fridge right now, this exact moment. Number 4. Alpro Almond Milk Original. The most widely available almond milk in the entire UK. The default carton, sitting in nearly every supermarket fridge across the country. The one people reach for without even comparing it against anything else on the shelf. Default doesn't mean best, no matter how familiar the carton looks. This one is confirmed at 2.3% almonds, with sugar, emulsifiers like sunflower lecithin, and stabilisers like locust bean gum and gellan gum making up much of the rest of what's actually in that bottle. You're mostly drinking water, a little sugar, and food-grade thickeners doing the heavy lifting, with a small amount of almond added purely for flavour at the end. That's not almond milk with a bit of water added on the side. That's water with a bit of almond added instead, dressed up to look like the reverse. That's the sweetened version dealt with. The unsweetened version sounds like the obvious fix. It genuinely isn't. Number 3. Alpro Almond Unsweetened. Unsweetened reads as the responsible, health-conscious choice. The upgrade you make specifically once you've decided to take this whole aisle seriously. Removing the sugar doesn't add a single extra almond back into the bottle, no matter how virtuous the label sounds now. This one is confirmed still at 2% almonds, completely identical to the sweetened version sitting right next to it. The only real change being the missing sugar and nothing else. You fixed one problem on the label and quietly assumed you'd fix the whole carton along with it. You removed the sugar. You didn't add a single almond back in to replace it. That's the same brand, same core problem, showing up twice in a row now on this list. The next one is priced and packaged like it should be so much better than everything covered so far. Number 2. Califia Farms Almond Milk Unsweetened. A modern, design-forward, wellness-branded bottle that reads as noticeably more premium than the supermarket regulars. The kind of carton that genuinely looks like it belongs on a different, more expensive shelf entirely. Striking packaging design is not an ingredients declaration, no matter how good the bottle looks sitting in your fridge door. It's worth checking the current UK percentage directly before buying, since premium positioned almond milks in this general segment are commonly found in a similarly thin range to the mainstream brands already covered earlier on this list. The bottle looks like it graduated to a more serious, more considered category entirely. The ingredients panel usually tells a much more familiar story underneath all that careful design work. The bottle graduated design school. The recipe didn't graduate anywhere. That's a premium bottle with a genuinely ordinary formula hiding inside it, no matter how the packaging tries to convince you otherwise. The final one is the biggest surprise on this entire list. The brand people assume is the cleanest of all by a wide margin. Number 1. Rude Health Almond Drink. The regular line, not the ultimate. An organic, ethically branded, B Corp certified health food name. Exactly the kind of bottle bought specifically to avoid everything this entire list has been warning you about up to this point. Read what's actually bulking this particular one out before you trust the branding printed all over it. This one is confirmed at just 1% almonds, the lowest percentage of every single brand checked across this entire list, with organic rice and sunflower oil used to build texture and natural sweetness instead of almonds doing that job. The most health-branded bottle on the whole shelf has less actual almond in it than the budget supermarket carton, sitting all the way back at number 8. This is the exact bottle you bought specifically to avoid this exact problem in the first place, and it has the least almond of anyone covered on this entire list. If the healthiest looking bottle on the shelf is genuinely the worst offender on the entire list, here's what the very same company does completely differently, just one shelf over. Okay, 8 bottles down, and I want to be clear about something before we move on. None of them are dangerous in any way. They're just not what the front of the carton quietly implies to a shopper standing there deciding. There's a genuinely simple way to check this before you buy, and it's one number sitting right there on the ingredients panel, not a lab test you'd need a white coat to run. Here are 3 bottles where that number actually means something. Clean 1, Rude Health Ultimate Almond. Same parent brand as the worst offender on this entire list, sitting on the very same shelf under the very same company name. This one is confirmed at 8% almonds, just almonds and water, the highest percentage of anything covered today by a wide margin, made by the exact same company that also makes the 1% version sitting one shelf away from it. Same brand as the worst entry on this whole list. This is the version where they actually put the almonds in properly this time. Clean 2. Plenish Organic Almond Milk. This one is confirmed at 6% almonds, with only 3 ingredients total on the entire label. Almonds, water, sea salt. No gums anywhere on the list. No emulsifiers. Nothing extra to disclose, because nothing extra was ever added in the first place during production. 3 ingredients, and one of them is almonds at a percentage that actually means something written on the label. Clean 3. Innocent Unsweetened Almond Milk. A confirmed short ingredient list. Almonds, plant-based citrus fiber, spring water, sea salt. Worth checking the current exact percentage yourself before buying, but still a list you can read and understand in one breath. On a shelf full of bottles you genuinely can't. 4 ingredients you can actually picture in your head, on a shelf otherwise full of bottles you can't picture at all. This was never really about 8 bad bottles sitting in a fridge somewhere. It's about one number most shoppers never check, sitting quietly on the ingredients panel right next to the word almond, waiting to be read. The same pattern, barely any of the named ingredient, with gums and water doing the rest of the work, shows up in oat milk, coconut milk, and plenty of other plant-based drinks, under the exact same labelling logic used across this entire category. Once you learn to check the percentage sitting next to the star ingredient, instead of trusting organic or barista printed across the front, you start finding this same gap on every single plant milk shelf in the shop, brand after brand, one bottle at a time.